Hello, 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 hello. Just bear with me. Right, off we go. I don't know what Nina is doing here. Those figures are nothing like what they are over here. I'm live stacking again as usual. So this is my first time out using the Antlia LRGB filters, which finally turned up. So this is the luminance channel. So I've got a very small plan together. 300-second exposures on luminance, 120 on RGB. I'm not sure how clear tonight is going to stay. And it's also my first time off-axis guiding. So we've got Bode and Cigar Galaxy in the centre frame. I believe this is another Galaxy in the shot as well. Can't remember what it's called. This can only be a bug in Nina because my PhD2 says I'm guiding at 0.6. Nina thinks I'm guiding at 1.36. All the units are the same. And even if I clear this in Nina, it just seems to have a mind of its own about what it thinks. The numbers don't even match. They're nowhere near. Hey, Robert. Hey, Smen. I'm good. Up in the north of England, we appear to have a clearish patch tonight. So, where am I? I'm somewhere around here. So we're looking good till start to get a bit hazy to at least midnight. It's work tomorrow, so can't stay up too late. Let me minimise this PhD2. I'm going to use that as my reference and not this. In fact, I'm going to close this off my view. So I'm also live stacking this in PixInsight as they come in. So we've got 3 images in the stack so far. Got some dust motes here. I'll have to sort those out with flats. Looks to be one over here as well. It's the first time I've been using these new antlia filters, so give them a good workout. I think I've only imaged Bodes and the Cigar, I'm pretty sure once before in 2020. I've only got 550mm of focal length, so they are quite small in the field of view, but a decent amount of crop in post. And I'm also going to capture some HA on them as well. Getting some nice detail in there already. I was going to check how round the stars are in the corners. Yeah, that's okay for me. Boyle, you're imaging the same target tonight. It's nice and high. I haven't checked when it goes over the meridian. Oh, we're already past the meridian. No, we're not. We're going past the meridian in 2 hours 50. So, what? Just shy of midnight. Guiding's looking good. This is the first time I am off-axis guiding. So when I assembled the off-axis guider, I'm not convinced I've got the best focus. This doesn't look that great, but I got my spacing wrong, so I had to disassemble it. So tweaking to be done, but I have no guide scope on top tonight, and I'm fairly happy with these numbers. But there's definitely some room for some improvement with this focusing. What camera am I using? I am using the wonderful QHYOAG-M. Just had another exposure come in, number 4. You're using the 600mm, which is the ZWO, I presume, and William Oxley Z61 new to mono imaging. Yeah, me too. I'm fairly new to mono. So I only started in December last year, and I've primarily been doing narrowband images because I've been waiting for these filters for quite some time to come into stock, and they did a couple of weeks ago, and this has been the first night using them. Let's have a quick look at my live stack. Definitely going to detect some flats, which I can sort out. I wonder if, well, we'll have to see what the RGB channel gives. I think the moon is due to set. It's only, let's have a look at what position and time it's going to set. Yeah, it's due to set at 20 to 11 and it's only 17% illuminated, so we should. It's having no real effect. I'm just keeping an eye on the mean here. It has dropped. So from my first image, 1990 down to 1951. So this mean value, basically the lower the number, the darker the background. So almost certainly as a result of the moon getting lower in the sky. We hit astronomical darkness at around 10 to 8, I think. Yeah, technically astronomical darkness started at 1949. So I started imaging after that, so it was already as dark as it could be in terms of where the sun's position is. So yeah, that should go down a few more when the moon disappears, but it's having no impact on this. I'm going to try and say I'm going to get some HA if I get chance, just to bring out some of the nebula that's in these galaxies. And I know that the cigar has some wonderful elements around this area here. Turn my HFR off. That will keep coming back on. I'd just like to keep an eye on my numbers. Have a quick look at the. So this was my first image. So this is one single frame, and this is it stacked with 4 in. Let's zoom in. So one image. Four images. So you can already start to see some of these detail coming out. Should be good. When you click pause in the right window activating, did it pause the time immediately, or does it finish the sub and then pause it? So it finishes the current sub. So in Nina, if I hit this pause button now, it will finish the current sub and then pause. If I hit the cross, it will stop it dead right now. Hope that helps. Sure how far behind we are. Not too far. Yeah, look at this. I might be overexposing this, you know. This is my first time using mono and luminance filters. Basically, this number up here in Nina is saying that there are 2,719 elements in here which are blown out, i.e. they're white, which a lot of that's going to be in here. I don't think you can actually see it now. All part of the learning process. Get out this either. Let's go back. Bring that to about there. That'll do. So I've just got another exposure coming in, and what we should see over here is PixInsight picking that up in a couple of seconds, and it will live stack it. This won't be the stacked version that I keep. I will reprocess this when I've got all the subs that I want. It just gives you that instant gratification of what sort of data are we getting stacked together. So you can see here it's detected the files dropped onto the system. It's now adding that in. That's one frame. And has it finished? I think it pretty much has. So that's the 5 frames. The noise evaluation. So, according to this, since we started, we've got a 35% improvement in the noise evaluation. So as we go up, that number should get higher. Much more detail than you're getting. Yeah, I mean the 1600 was a great camera. I never owned it, but I know that a lot of people swore by it. And then you got the 571 sensors that came out, which the 2600 by ZWO, QHY brought out their 268, and Altair Astro brought out their 268 as well. And the photons this thing can capture is off the scale. I've also got a 2600 one-shot color as well, ZWO one, but that's been relegated to my second rig, which is still being built at the moment. So yeah, it's a phenomenal camera and a phenomenal sensor. The ASI of a friend stop immediately, which is annoying. I guess you can no pause there. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Smen, but what program are you using for live stacking? So I'm using PixInsight and the Easy Suite, which is a free add-on by a fantastic piece of libraries that this guy's written. So you can do deconvolution, live stacking, denoising, HDR, and so what's happening is outside on the mount, you probably won't be able to see it, but I've got an Intel NUC on there, little mini PC. When the files are dropped onto that, into this folder, I'll show you, I'll go through exactly what it does. These are my previous nights. Just let me clear these up from these are my focus frames from earlier. As the files come into this folder here, which is on the NUC, I have a NAS Synology NAS inside, and it basically says, oh, a new file's appeared. So it copies it to my NAS indoors, and then what PixInsight here is doing is I've told it to monitor that folder on the NAS where they've been dropped into, so it's just live stacking them as they come in. It works well, as I say. I won't save any of the images that it's stacked out of this. I will process them manually, but it just gives you a good idea as to what data you're getting. And when it switches filter, we'll have to start another one off because it will only stack the same type of filter sets. But you can actually combine them into a colour image in the live stack as well. I think it's going to be chilly tonight. Let's have a look. -1 at some point during the evening, or probably in the early hours. Has that sky got darker? Yes, 1931. So it is still getting dark, and that's the result of the moon disappearing. Let's look where you are right now, the Mr. Moon. Yeah, you're over here. So as you can see, it's an hour and a bit offsetting. There's another frame just finished. So I'm also doing dithering. Let me check my guiding. I haven't been in there a while. 0.52. All this, which look like massive corrections, are to be expected when you dither. You can see the word dither there. You'll see that the total error isn't going up as these are being done. It looks like an horrendous corrections going on in PhD2, but it's not. That's what the result of the dither does. And it will go back to normality. Just waiting for the dither sequence to finish. And Nina finished. These numbers should, yeah, there you go. Now carrying on. All good. Let's go back to the live stack. So we've now got 6 images. Noise valuation gone from 35% to 42%. It's going well. Probably jinxed it. Not sure what to make of my off-axis guiding yet. It's going to be interesting when we refocus. I think my antlia LRGB broadband filters are nearly parfocal, so even though the off-axis guider is in front of the filter wheel, the tube on my ESPRIT has been taken in and out by the focuser, so this goes way out of focus when it doesn't autofocus, then comes back into focus. I suspect if I did LRGB and then went to narrowband, I might have to go out and adjust my 290 Mini, which is in the OAG. I bet it's not going to be in focus, but it's one thing I want to try later on. Big satellite trail right through the middle. I'm pretty sure as well, you may have noticed on my first frame, I don't think that's a satellite trail, because it goes from dim to bright and then starts dimming off again, which is usually a meteor. Could be wrong, but I would expect that to be a solid white light if it was sat, and it's not. You can just, I don't know if YouTube's killing it, but it is gradually fading out there. Could be wrong. Using SharpCap at the moment, having a few problems setting Nina up. Oh, okay. I mean, there's plenty of resources out there, Robert. Quiv, the Lazy Geek. There's a guy called Patriot Astro who's done some great Nina videos. I was meant to try and do some of my own, but you'll notice on my YouTube channel I probably do more live videos now than I do, I'll say static videos, but there's some great resources out there. If you're managing in SharpCap, I'm surprised if you're struggling in with Nina, because I think SharpCap's probably, other than taking bog standard images, there are a lot of features in SharpCap that are quite difficult to use. I use Shoutcap to polar align, and that's it for me. So polar aligned earlier with using it. Oh, actually, I used it to focus my guide camera as well, with it being my first time using my OAG. So it all could have gone disastrously wrong. I did have my guide scope ready as a backup, but it would mean rebalancing everything. But yeah, I don't like this, but I can tinker with that later. I'm just going to check for aberration in the corners. Yeah, these are okay. What this is in Nina is a nice little feature where it basically shows you the 4 corners, well, 9 squares, but you're interested in the corners really. In theory, if your stars are going to be starting to go oblong because of spacing, because of tilt, this is where you'll see the effects of them. And also if your tracking is not very good, you would see it across the entire frame. So I often periodically every 20-30 minutes just check the aberration of the stars. But we're looking good. I'll take that off because people don't like the yellow dots in Nina. Minute off exposure number 7. Guiding settled at 0.56. Should really rerun the guiding assistant, but I didn't. Okay, quick check. So cooler percentage, 15% cooler power. So I use a Pegasus Astro Pocket Power Box. I think these are great. It changed the way I image. Let's do a quick check on stuff. We're way off the meridian, so I don't need to worry about meridian flip at the moment. Huge satellite through the picture there. It's funny because since about last year I've not been getting satellite bombed at all. I can probably safely say since December, since getting this new camera, I've maybe had one frame with a single satellite trail through it. I think it's probably to do with the targets. They were fairly low on the southern horizon for me. I say southern, about 30 degrees, so there's probably not much traffic, satellite traffic, whereas Bode's is quite high up in the sky, isn't it? So probably in prime time satellite paths here. No worries though, we can calibrate that out in post-processing. But let's have a quick look at the stack. Yeah, it's going to appear on the stack. We might end up with a whole load of crosses and zigzags across this by the end of it, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'll say it'll go out in post. Noise evaluation, decent, up to nearly 50% improvement on the first frame. Let's see if I can get these in the same. Yeah, there we go. So that's the first frame that I took, and that's now currently with 300 second 5-minute exposures in. This is super stretched here, so hopefully I'm not going to be overexposing that. But I'll say this is my first time out with a mono and my luminance filters. This is awful. Stop looking at it. As long as it's guiding. Oh, we're going up to 0.92. Okay. We'll be fine. I'm well below my guide scope pixel rate. Oh, actually, I need to recalculate that. I'll come back to that. What is that other galaxy up there? Let's have a quick look at the frame wizard. Oh, it's this. Or is it this? I'm not sure which one it is. Let's have a look at what relationship. So it's this UGC 5398. That's also in the frame. We've nearly got to the end of the luminance. I've only done 12 images. This is for me a... Whenever I get new equipment, which the off-axis guider is and the filters are, I always treat the first night as like a training. Check everything's all right night. But we'll probably whiz through LRGB because they're only 2-minute expo. RGB are only 2-minute subs. And what I'll do is I'll just reset this plan running again because we'll probably have enough time. It's only 8:30. Yeah, guiding's calming down again, 0.74. I'm more than happy with that. This is my live stack. I think those are the only 2 dust motes on here. We do need to take some flats later on. We'll see what happens on the RGB filters. If the 2 dust motes are still there, then that means that's on the sensor window, not the filter itself. So yeah, looking good. If you're worried about that big light that's suddenly come on in my garden, it's nowhere near as bright as that. It's actually my next door neighbour. They have a back patio light that goes off when cats and they step out the back into their back garden. Doesn't affect my subs. But it does look quite shocking on the image of the scope outside on that tree. Each year, back down at 0.56. We have image number 8 has just dropped in. So this should start picking that file up. What you'll see in the background here, there it goes. I've tried to move the window out of the way, but it's started. Detected a new frame and it's now stacking that in real time. We're doing it. There we go. 54% since we started. I'm liking it. Things are going well. There. How's everybody else doing? Anybody else other than Robert imaging tonight? Quick look at the UK as a whole. Yes, down south. That's at midnight. That's of course is about now. What time is it? 8. Yeah, down south. And Anglia's quite battered. Yeah, it's just patchy throughout the country by the looks of it. Luckily, over where I live, just north of York, we're good. Anybody's got any questions they want to ask, feel free. Don't worry if you think it's going to be a silly question. That's one of the reasons I do the live stream, is not to show what we're... It is to show what we're getting, but it's also to try and help people if I can. It can be quite boring just watching someone take an image of a galaxy. You're in Doncaster. Ah. I used to live in West Yorkshire. I know Doncaster's in South Yorkshire, but yeah, I used to live not probably about 20 miles away from Doncaster. 20, 25 miles away, near to Wakefield. I've been in York 16 years now. And luckily, I've got a bottle 4 in my back garden, so I'm not actually in York city centre or anything. I'm far enough away from York for it to. I mean, it's not a very bright city to start with, but my sky in the back garden is as good as it probably can be without living out completely in the sticks. It's a decent bottle 4. Hey Alex, how's it going? Thanks for joining. On a Sunday night, work tomorrow, back to work. But I think it's going to be clear for maybe tomorrow as well for me. Ooh. The apps are all over the place. There's nothing better than going outside and having a look. So right now, Clear Outside reckons that where I am, it's 50% cloud cover. It's actually crystal clear in all directions. So I often use the Met Office cloud cover. This is fairly accurate. Clear in Aberdeen. Have a quick look, see how far up. Aberdeen up there, yes. Yeah, looking nice and clear. Same sort of skies as me till the early hours by the looks of it. Yes, I'm around here. Doncaster's got some clouds in the south by the looks of it. Probably far enough away. This guiding down at 0.45. This is my first time using an off-axis guider. However, I don't know what's going on here other than the focus of the stars is not good, but it doesn't seem to be moaning. Probably some room for some improvement there. Clone to about 3 a.m. Yeah, I wish I could stay out till 3 a.m. but I've got work tomorrow, and whilst some of my work is working from home, I've elected to go to the office tomorrow, which is about an hour's drive for me. It's in Leeds, so York to Leeds in the morning at about 7 a.m. So yeah, I can't stay out too late. So we have another sub-exposure in. So this is live stack. There's image number 1. I think I'm blowing this out, but this I don't know how much this is stretching it by. I mean, it is the luminance channel. We'll see what RGB give as well, but all part of learning. Yeah. So I can pick the days that I work from home as well. If I'd have known it was going to be clear, it didn't show us clear tonight until earlier today. I would have picked to work from home. So I'm just going to make a note of something. My focus positions. Just want to see how far. Luminance 54259. When it refocuses on red, I just want to see how far away that is. I don't use filter offsets at the moment. But it's more for my OAG. I want to see how much it affects the focus of this. Shooting M101 tonight for the first time. Nice. I think that's quite high in the sky as well, is it not? It's quite low in the northeast. I say low. It's over 30 degrees. Well, yeah, probably about 40 degrees. I can't see that at the moment. My house would be in the way. I've got nice clear views of west, eastish, and south. North, I can see Polaris for polar alignment, but our house is in the way for most of it. Don't have a long garden, I have a wide garden. So we're on exposure 10 of 12 of the luminance channel of the Bode and Cigar Galaxy. Everything is looking swimmingly well. We've got 2 hours 22 on meridian flip. Off-axis guiding, lovely stuff. Quite cold outside, so the cooler power to get down to -10 is literally only using 14% to get to -10. That's ridiculous. Ah, yes, of course. That far up in Scotland, yeah, will be a different elevation to me, so. We have another 40 seconds. We'll be on our penultimate image. These do look blown to bits, but I will see. I suspect it's the easy stacker overstretching. Yes, thank you, Alex. It's looking nice. I think right at the beginning, I don't know if you were in, but I've only imaged this once before, and it was probably a couple of years ago now. Oh, nice. Crossing of satellites. One. Oh, in fact, we've got 3 in the frame. There's one, there's 2, and there's another one in the corner. Anybody who's new to astrophotography, we can. It's quite a thick one, that one actually, but we'll still be able to process this out. As long as we can have more than about. The more subs we have, the more chances we have of getting rid of it. That is quite a thick old one. Of course, that will just appear in the live stack that I'm doing. There it is. We'll end up with some kind of chessboard by the end of the night, I guess. Oh, my neighbour's turned. Well, their rear porch light's gone off. As you can see on that tree, it's no longer illuminated. Look at the darkness of the sky. So yeah, it's still going down. This mean value. So here we started at 1990 on the first image, and we are now down at 1874. So this is basically the mean value of the pixels, the ADU in the background. The lower this value, the darker the sky is effectively. So we had astronomical darkness about 10 to 8, so it didn't get any darker from where the sun is, but because the moon's setting, that's what's making the background get darker. It's only 17% tonight, so it's not affecting this by very much, and it's quite a way away. Let's have a look where you are, Mr. Moon. Be over in the west. Yeah. Not long to go. Getting a lot of corrections, but the guiding staying below 0.5. I'll probably pass this through my PhD log viewer tomorrow if I get a chance. Looks to be another little galaxy down here by the looks of it. Let's have a quick look. Turn the star annotation off. Yeah, there's definitely something there. That is not any haloing going on. Amazing what you can see in some of your subs that you don't know are there. Yes, I am, Alex. I'm using a new, well, it's my very first time off-axis guiding. So I'm using a QHYOAG-M as I use a QHY filter wheel and camera. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I generally find the higher I'm pointing up towards the zenith, my guiding is better than stuff that's affected by the atmosphere, the lower it gets. So when I'm sort of pointing, I was imaging the Seagull Nebula a few weeks ago, did a live session on it. My guiding was all over the place, and I'm convinced it was because of the elevation. It literally only just cleared my hedge in the back garden. Yeah, which tells me I'm affected by seeing and the atmosphere more than anything. So we are on sub exposure 11, just about to finish. 3 seconds, and we'll be on the last luminance. And then we'll be on to red. A whole new world for me. I've never imaged in R before on this camera. It's my first time out using broadband filters on my mono camera. Have we got a dither going on here? No. There are a lot of corrections there, and it's not a dither. Let's go and click onto that. There we go. I'm just hoping that is overstretching it. I wonder if I can... I don't think you can run ABE. Yeah, you can't really do anything in terms of the stretch that it applies to it. Never mind. So you might have mentioned, you heard me earlier, I don't use filter offset, so when this changes filter, I do instigate a refocus. I am going to start using filter offsets, but I don't mind waiting the 3.5 minutes for my autofocus run to run. Yeah, balancing is key. I actually have just bought a balance meter. I haven't played with it yet though. What you do is you plug in your power to the mount and you plug the balance meter in between, and you just want your mount on, and then you slew your mount one way and slew it the other way, and the balance meter will show you the ampage drawn So as it goes in one direction, you start slewing the opposite way, do one axis at a time. And you want the ampage draw to show the same, roughly the same draw. And if one's slightly more, you adjust. I haven't tried it yet, but there's a guy called Astrobloke on YouTube who's just reviewed it. A couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I ordered it on Saturday, and the guy posted it Saturday afternoon, and it arrived with me on Monday. So I was super impressed. He literally got out the door. And as I've got two mounts, I've got a CGX and a EQ6. There's an option, instead of having to buy two, you can actually have a dual ends, and you can pick what the ends are. So I've got literally one balance meter with two outputs, one for a CGX and one for an EQ6. Hey England, I think I bumped into you on a live stream the other day, I believe. So this is the final image in luminance, and then we'll be moving over to red. So other than coming and watching someone live stream, what do you guys do whilst you're taking images? Is it Netflix, gaming, music, watching a bit of TV? I usually just watch a bit of TV and just keep my eye on stuff. I'm not a what is called a sleeper. So right now I would not leave this out all night imaging, even though my meridian flips, apart from one, went wrong about a year and a half ago. My flips are always good. I just don't leave my stuff out. I live in the arse end of nowhere, so there's no worry about people coming along and nicking my gear. I just don't have the confidence to do it. Okay, this is the last dither of the luminance pass. So we've changed filters. We're now on red, and it is doing an autofocus. Guided 0.48 tall RMS at the moment. Pleased with that? Yeah. Mostly TV as well. Yes, it's once you've got everything set up and your plans going, unless you're doing some kind of tour of the sky, there's not a lot to do. Not about confidence, more about being clever. My step size for the narrow bands are way too big. Look at this, it's gone to 20. I'll get a nice V curve, but it shouldn't be this high to start with. Hey Dio Crew, hello from New Jersey. Hello. You just caught me refocusing after a filter change. So we've got a live stack going on here. That's of my luminance channel. And we're just flicking over to the red channel. What's happening here, if anybody's interested, is, albeit it's done a little bit too much, is you'll see in the background the image is now out of focus. And that's because it's taken a 15-second exposure moving the focus, and it moved it right out, and it's now moving the focus tube back in, and it's plotting the focus positions here. So this number down on the left is the what is called the HFR. The smaller this number, the smaller the stars are, which means that the more in focus they are. So what it'll do is we're looking for what is called a V curve or a U curve. So it'll come out of focus back to in focus and move it back out of focus, and basically the point of where they meet is the best focus position. So you can see even on a this is literally a 15-second exposure of Bode's and Cigar Galaxy. It's crazy. I mean, the Cigar looks, you at 15 seconds you can still see quite a lot of detail. What solar are you looking at? I'm not looking at solar, but if you mean what are these? These are two galaxies called Bode's Galaxy and the Cigar Galaxy. Also known as M81. So you can see here the focus is now going back out of focus, which is okay. And then it plots what is called a parabolic curve. And it's currently saying that this point here where it's green is the best focus position based on where it would have gone to between these 2 points here. And when it's finished, it'll move the focuser back to this position. You can see, I can tell here it says moving focus back to 54144, which is about there. And then it's going to take and test final exposure, and you should see this go from out of focus to in focus because the focuser is now here. Here it comes, 15. There we go. So we're now back in focus after changing filters. What's happened to this? I reckon we'll be okay. I can already tell we're okay. But I'm not looking at any solar. I don't know what you mean, England. What solar are you looking at? You're probably going to have to explain more about what you actually mean. So this is a red channel coming in. So what I'm going to do is in my live stack, I wonder if I'll start a new one. We'll have to wait for first sub to come in though before I can start the stack off. Hey Dio Crew, you're new to AP and been working on M81 and M82 for the last couple of weeks. Just amazed by your results. It's, yeah, I mean, the camera I'm using, the QHYOAG-M, is a phenomenally sensitive camera. Paired with my ESPRIT 100, it's a great pairing, optics and the camera. I don't know what England. I don't know what you're talking about, to be honest. M81 and M82 are galaxies, but it's called a solar, not a galaxy. You must know something I don't, because if we look up, I don't know what you actually mean by that. This is what M81 looks like. No, don't know what you mean. Sorry, mate. If anybody else can understand what England's trying to ask me, I'll be more than happy to try and answer it. So, is that the first? Let me go back. I think that's the first image in on red. Yeah. So we got the first red channel image. Let's start stacking the red channel. Let's compare that to what the luminance. So you can see there the comparison, that was 300-second luminance. That's 120 on the red. Just bear with me, my cat is meowing to go outside. He better not jump on the telescope. The cat has gone out. You were looking at the ZWO 2600 MCRMM, but very quite pricey. Yeah, they are. The QHY is slightly cheaper than the ZWO, and the reason I didn't, even though I've got a 2600 MC one-shot colour, I decided not to go 2600 mm because of the oil leak problems. Now, I haven't had the oil leak problem myself with the 2600 MC, but I know it can suffer from them. It doesn't matter whether it's mono or colour. And I know they've now fixed it, but if you bought one today, you're still not guaranteed that that hasn't been sat in a warehouse for 6 months. It shouldn't have been because of the stock problems, but if I was to buy another mono camera right now, I'd probably get another QHY one. Yeah, the 2600 is, whether it's the mono or the one-shot color, it's incredibly low noise, as is the QHY. I don't even, most of my images these days, I don't even stack them with darks anymore. I did a comparison test. I built a dark library for this QHY, and I stacked the same image with and without the dark library. There was no difference. And I pixel peeped it for a good half an hour, 45 minutes, all over the place, and it literally was, yeah. So I've stopped taking darks. I mean, I used to use dark libraries with my 2600 MC, but it's incredibly low read noise overall. It's just a shame about the oil sensor leak. I suspect my 2600 MC will probably end up suffering from it. But it hasn't been used for 3 months now. Not since I've got this guy. And I used to have a second scope. I had a Hedge HD8, which I sold a couple of months ago. So I'm just waiting to pull the trigger on another scope for my second rig. And I'll put the 2600 back onto that. So this is the red channel of my session site. So I'm live stacking the red channel as well. Oh, Alex, you're going to love the 100. What you're looking at now is this is an ESPRIT 100 I'm using. It's my first telescope I ever bought that is a real telescope, because I used to shoot with camera lenses for a couple of years. It's a phenomenal piece of kit for the price point that it is. You'll absolutely love it. You really will. There's a couple of little niggles with it. The Jew shield's got this really weird. It's held on with 2 locking nuts, and it can wobble. And you can screw them up and it'll tighten up, but you can basically find you've got the baffles slightly off. So it's just a bit weird why they did that. Why didn't they just put it on a thread? I don't know. But yeah, it's great. People moan about the focuser at the back. I've not swapped mine, so I've got an electronic focuser onto the stock focuser. I've had no issues with it. You were part of the reason you went for it. Oh, well, thank you. I'll have to phone up Skywatcher and claim some commission then. I'm actually thinking of getting an ESPRIT 120 as my next scope. Not to replace the 100, but just to give me... There's no way I can afford a 150. But the 120... I don't know if going from 550... Not going, but having a scope that does 550 and having a second scope that does 840. I know how to calculate what field of views and stuff I get, but I just don't know whether it's a bigger step or whether to go the opposite way and get a wide field scope. So those are my options I'm looking at. Is either go something around 840 to 1000, or getting the opposite end of and going down at like 250 to 350 and going wide field. I don't know yet. I haven't made up my mind. One of the other things is when I first decided to get a dedicated Astro camera, I never thought I'd go mono. I just told myself I won't have enough time. I don't want the hassle of changing filters, even though you can do it electronically. And so I went with a one-shot colour, 2600 MC Pro. Great camera. But I remember the first image I took in HA with the 268 that we've got on today. And it was a 10-minute sub. And I literally fell off my chair when the data came in. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But that doesn't mean I'll never go back to one-shot colour. That is far from it. I will be using that one-shot colour on my second rig. Or I might put the mono onto my 120 if I get a 120 and put the 2600 on the 100. Don't know yet. Yeah, Simon's Astro. I know Russell's he's had 3 leaks now, so they've eventually replaced it. The issue I've got is they haven't published, and they won't seem to tell us from what manufacturing date the issue was corrected. So my worry is, you buy a camera today, it may have been on a container ship for 6 weeks, it may have been stood in a warehouse for another 4 weeks. So when you actually get it, right now, it could still be one of the batch that hasn't had the manufacturing fault fixed at source. And I suppose until 3, 4, 6 months goes by, there'll be no guarantee that the camera that you get is one that's been manufactured with whatever they've corrected the manufacturing process. That's my worry today with the 2600. I suspect in 6 months' time it'd be zero issue. I know someone on Cloudy Night started tracking down build dates and serial numbers to work out which ones were affected. Reading up on back focus, not looking forward to that. I'm changing over the ZWAF. Yeah, it's... I remember when I was looking at my ESPRIT 100, it's like... There's some very confusing stuff about in the manual about 63mm back focus and 55mm back focus. Basically, it's as simple as when you put the 1-to-1 field flattener onto the ESPRIT 100, it's 55mm from the back of that. Which means if you go in ZWO, all their stuff has been designed to match, whether it be the filter wheel and spacers, filter wheels and adapters, filter wheels and cameras, filter wheels, no filter wheels and cameras. They all add up to literally 55 millimeters, so you don't need to worry about anything in that aspect. They've they did weirdly last year. There were some combinations which resulted in 56 millimeters when you used their new off-axis guide of the large one and their filter wheel, their new large filter wheel. And it's like, 56 millimeters. It's only 1 millimeter, but you might get some strange aberrations in the corners. But they've now addressed that with a new plate to go take it off the camera, and there's a new plate that they've released that goes on the front of the OAG, I believe. And basically, you can get back to 55 millimeters with that combination as well now. Chib 89. Yeah, I did look at the. I think there's a Starizona reducer. I think Sean over at Visible Dark reviewed it. So I did start to look at that. Starizona is quite difficult to buy in the UK. I think I'd probably have to import it in. And it's still potentially on the cards, you know. If I went to a 120 for the 840 mil, I could use my 100 with a reducer on there to get me down at like, what would it be? Uh, if it's a point 0.8 reducer, down at 440, which would be a decent. That makes me think I've got a wide enough field from 440 up to 840 to give me the field of views that I'm potentially looking for. Yeah, it's a key decision you have to make when you decide to go dedicated astro camera, Simon. Whether you go one shot color or mono, and there's also that instant gratification of seeing a color image appear whilst you're imaging as well. Um, Not having to worry about how to combine mono channels together either, which is not difficult to be honest, but it's back in those days everything seemed daunting. Anything's really daunting with new equipment because you're hoping that it works. You're having to relearn things about any oddities and intricacies about what you've bought. And usually it's expensive, so you're always in the back of your mind. You've spent a lot of money on something, and I won't say is it worth it, but is it worth the hassle of whatever you may struggle with? So I was really worried when I bought this OAG that I'm using for the first time tonight. When I tried it the other night, just inside, tried to focus on something down the street, I couldn't get any focus, and I was like, oh. And then I noticed QHY had basically revised the documentation that I'd got, and the OAG needed to go in a different place in the spacing. So I did that, and tonight's the first night I've actually used it, so I was relieved when I found stars that I could get into focus. Otherwise, I'd have been throwing the guide scope back on. Excuse me, but I think someone did a video about, I can't remember if it was Dylan, um, about the false economies of one shot color over mono, thinking that you actually need more time to do mono than you do to need one shot color. Because you're basically gathering more photons, you're not throwing photons away because of the RGB matrix. I won't say it comes out at nearly the same, but it's certainly not the same um, calculation to work out how much data time do I need to expose on a target in RGB one shot color against how much time do I need to do it across 4 filters or 3 filters or whatever target you're using to get the same data. Let's have a quick look at this live stack. So this is the red channel. 8 8 images in the stack. I don't know if I've blown this out. I'm just hoping that this live stack is overstretching this, because it looks completely overexposed. It was daunting, plus the time aspect. Yeah, one shot color, then mono. When you've done all the main targets in one shot color. Well, that's it as well. That's another thing I want: a higher focal length scope or a reduced focal length. Is there are some targets which are just too big for my 550. So the Witchhead Nebula paired with the 2600, I basically chop off the top and the bottom, and still be a nice picture. But I'd like to frame things. That isn't a target that is, I don't think, would look nice with the top end lobbed off and the bottom end lobbed off, and I don't have a rotator, so I can't rotate it horizontally to get into field of view. And the ESPRIT 100 rotator is one of the worst things. I don't want to put you off the ESPRIT 100, but the rotator, how that particular works, is not great. Where was I going with this? And then there's Galaxy. Obviously in Galaxy season there are just things, the biggest, obviously excluding Andromeda M31, we're talking probably next pinwheel triangulum are decent sizes, and then we're into these small things, and even smaller ones like M106. I did M106 last year and it's tiny, but I got a decent amount of data out of it. I know Trevor Jones has got an ESPRIT 150. It's ridiculously priced at over £4,000, but at 1,000 millimeters, it probably brings some additional targets into range that are just not viable for me at the moment. Anybody realise I'm not using Nina version 2? So on my second rig, which is scopeless at the moment, I have Nina version 2, the latest build on that. But for my primary, I generally don't like using test software, and whilst it seems very stable, and I do test it myself regularly on a simulation setup that I've got, what I'd hate to do is spend an hour of a rare clear night and I start having problems. So when they release version 2 out of beta, I will definitely move over it to. So I've been looking at all the plugins and stuff, and there's some great stuff that I'm looking forward to using. But right now, I'm just using the latest stable version 1.1. Yeah, Alex, the rotator is literally fiddly. Let me show you what I mean. There's a really good picture. Let's. In fact, this is the this by chance is the article. The guy saying, how do I rotate it? So you don't release this captain's ring. That literally will rotate the entire focus tube around, and you don't want to be doing that. It's these things here. So there's literally, not this, but there's two gripped rings here. One of them you slacken off, and that allows the second ring to be moved, and that then rotates this imaging train behind it, and then you lock the first ring in place and nip it back up. Doing that when you've got a whole set of stuff behind here, because these things get quite tight and you want them tight enough not to be moving, it just doesn't work for me at all. I've tried it and you end up, yeah. There's a guy, I think, why they haven't done something akin to what ZWO do for the rotators, I don't know. And it made me start to look at the, well, I started to look at the Pegasus Astro Falcon rotator. The problem is its size doesn't fit into the imaging train, so I can't get 55mm back focus with what I'd have in the train. The only option I could get anywhere near was to put it actually in front of the reducer, sorry, in front of the flattener, with some custom things from Precise Parts, so that it didn't affect the back spacing. And then I also looked at the Primalucha Lab Isato, which is a focuser and a rotator as well, but it's I would say chunky money, but that's another option. And of course you can go absolute mental and go for the Moonlight Nightcrawler, which is a focuser and rotator, and that takes away that entire back assembly, but that's like nearly as much as the scope. So we're on the last of the red channel. Nina 2 seems quite stable for me. They only shied with the 3D scope and kept crashing. Yeah, I saw them on the Discord channel saying remove the 3D scope plugin for now if you're using it, because it was causing some crashes. I work in IT and I work in the software industry. I used to write, I used to sell my own software online, so I'm a former developer. So old habits die hard. When I see the words alpha and beta, I generally wait until they're stable releases, and I'll use them on my second rig. Hence why I know about all the features that are coming. So I also have a virtual environment where I fire up and get the latest beta. I think they're up at beta 49 for version 2 at the moment, so lots of fixes coming in. Lots of great plugins as well. So I am looking forward to using it. It's just I want the least amount of worries on a night. What I'm going to do is I'll probably go another 15 minutes and I'll close the stream, because there's only so much you can take of looking at a bloke taking pictures in software. Why did I sell my Edge HD? I couldn't tame it. And what I mean by that, so I'd never owned an SCT before. The guy I bought it from, he said it was collimated, and when I checked, it wasn't. And I remember fiddling around outside the first night trying to collimate it, getting incredibly frustrated. I didn't have any bobs and knobs at the time, so I was waving around a Phillips screwdriver at the front of the corrector plate. I was just chasing myself around. The airy disc would have gone all over the place. So once I got it collimated that first time, I was okay. But then I was just I didn't have a suitable guide scope for its focal length, so I was trying to guide it with a 240mm guide scope, which was pushing it to say the least. So I was limited my exposures down to something like 120 seconds. I could have thrown a bigger scope at it. I don't know. A friend of mine was he'd broken his Edge HD. He'd got a crack on his primary mirror, so he said if I ever got rid of it, he'd take it. So he came along and bought it. I need to sort that out. That focus, that's going way too far out. So it was at me. I did actually win a competition with a picture I took. I took a picture of M51, and there's a UK forum called Backyard Astro, and it was the very first image I took with my Edge HD, and I submitted it, and it won their Image of the Month competition. So I won £100 worth of Altair Astro vouchers. I didn't do bad out of it. But every night where it was a clear night, if I was only setting one rig up, I'd always just go to my ESPRIT. The Edge HD just never got a look in. There's occasional nights where I set up 2 up. And I just thought, you know, refractors are for me. Expensive, but less maintenance. I'm quite friends with Luke from Luca Matico, if you've ever seen his channel, and I know he's going big time on his Newtonians. He's just bought a new 300 PDS, which is an absolute monster. Excuse me. He's loving his reflector telescopes at the moment. Just bear with me, I was going to get a drink. Keep me going. Yeah, so this focus routine here, ideally, if my focus is about 2.5, you want it only going out 4 times that. And it's currently going out 10 times that. However, it does find a decent focus. It's just taking longer. So we should be on the green channel next. So that's the stack of luminance, red. I'm just seeing if that dust. I think there is a dust mote there that matches. Yeah, there is. So that dust must be on. In fact, I can see them both. That must be on the sensor window, not the actual filters. I'll calibrate those out with flats. Yeah, me neither. So when I've been playing with the version 2, Alex, the advanced sequencer, there's some great stuff in there, and it's really well, I'll say it's quite easy to understand what you need to do, but I suppose it's one of those things that if I had an observatory with a roof, if I had weather sensors, if I slept whilst I'm imaging, there are lots of things in that advanced sequencer that you go, right, this will be great. Just little things like only image. So you can work out what elevation you can see in your back garden and say, stop imaging if the elevation of the target goes below, say, 30 degrees. Little things like that are great, but because I sit and watch, either watching TV or keeping an eye on things, I think that part of it is great for people who want to set things going, multi-targets, multi-sequences during the night, and to be able to go to sleep and just wake up and it all be done. Simon's Astro M51, great target. Just done this. Found it difficult to process in PixInsight. It is. It is a great target. It's the one thing I do is my other half. She's not into astrophotography. She literally just says dots, dots in the. You got a picture of some dots. But what what we've started doing is, I'll take a picture of something. I'll go show when I finish processing it and say, what do you see? She comes up with some crazy stuff, absolute crazy stuff. So, and she'll always tell me and say, well, I can see so and so there or so and so there. When I show her M51, she obviously just goes, it's a snail if I've got it in one particular orientation. So, I use OAG on mine, it's okay, but I sell my Edge when. Oh, you're right. You've got a FLT 132 arriving. If it ever arrives, that's a big scope from. That's a big old refractor, is it not? The FLT 132 is. Yeah. So First Light Optics have got 2 in space grey in, but at £4 grand, that's outside of my budget. But yeah, 925 millimeters. I have looked at these. I do that gold, anodized gold machine metal looks absolutely lovely. But yeah, that will be an immense scope. New to Bixing 75 Galaxy's hardest to process. Think you always overdo it. Yeah, it's that knowing when to stop, and it's one of those things. I know it's easy to say, but one of the worst things I used to do was I'd finish my image in PixInsight, and then I'd go look on Astrobin or look on Facebook and go, "Oh, look at that! Look at their colours. They're better. Oh, that I should have done it." And then go back and try and make mine look like theirs. And I've stopped doing that now. I I process it until I'm happy with what I see, and then I stop. You can basically keep going forever and ever and keep tweaking and tweaking. Um, and you do need to put some time in to get the right, what you generally you'll be happy with. But yeah, knowing when to stop is probably becomes the hardest thing. And once you get used to that, the worst thing I think you can do is to go try and compare yourself against someone else's and think theirs looks better. I want mine to look like that. Ah, you've got the same. We're not married, my other half and I, but she. It sounds like we've got something in common there. So we're now on the green channel. This will be my very first LRGB image with this mono camera that I've had since November. So I'm quite looking forward to processing it. I am going to start looping back round when the sequence is finished because I reckon. Well, let's have a look. What time does the sequence say it's going to finish? It thinks it's going to finish at 10:30. And I'll just set another set of 12, 12, 12, and 12 going. Hopefully, it won't be too far into the night. Yeah, it is hard to resist that color saturation. I've been messing around in PixInsight with the obviously the Hubble palette's like aesthetically pleasing, but I've started mixing mine with a palette called the 4X palette. So what I do is when I'm doing my narrowband, is I create a SHO image and then I create a 4X or 4X, if that's how you pronounce it, palette. And then I merge those two together, 50% of each. And so far, the images that I've created with that, I've liked. Whether someone else likes, I'll show you the one that is probably the one I like the best. So, oh shit, that sounds like. So that's the one I did with the 4X palette, but just let me go back to why we've lost. Okay, looks like we've got clouds. Turn that off. We are no longer guiding and we have got clouds. Hey, thanks for joining, Robert. Catch you later. Appreciate it, mate. Any Jacobs, I haven't tried the plugin because I'm not running version 2 just yet. I'm still on version 1 if it doesn't have plugin support. But looks like we've got clouds. In fact, I can see them on the view outside. Let's see if they pass. I'm just going to make sure we haven't got any rain coming. We'll have to see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the sequence because I suspect this next image that's going to come in is going to be garbage. Let's see. It's only got 60 seconds. Yeah, it was meant to be. I'm hoping it's just some passing clouds. If it is, what I'll do is I'll draw this stream to a close. You've got some high altitude clouds as well, Alex. Yeah. I still panic about rain. If my stuff got wet outside, I think I would be devastated. But I'm all over rain forecasts and stuff. I don't think we're due any rain. Well, certainly not in the timescale that I could get my stuff inside. Another reason I'd want an observatory, but it ain't going to happen where we live at the moment. Yeah, look, we've lost quite a bit of data there with, look at the previous red. Load that back in. That's the previous red, and that's the red that's just been cloud bombed. Come on, Nina. Come on. Why are you taking so long to load? Let's have a look at the guide scope. Yeah. It is actually still guiding. I can just see some stars through there. So, quite impressive. Okay, chaps. Well, we'll bring the stream to an end. Thank you all so much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love doing live streams. I know we had about 12 people at one point. I don't care if we get 2 people, 12 people, 100 people. I can chat about this stuff all day, every day. So, thank you all. And I hope to see you again sometime soon. As ever, take care and clear skies to everybody.